If you are like me and you love being in the know about what's happening in the quantum, I call it the quantum world of woo, you are in the right place. I have one of my favorite humans on the planet, definitely my favorite filmmaker on the planet, and fellow visionary and impact leader here, Reuben Langdon. Welcome back to the Akashic Academy. So good to have you.
Glad to be back. I guess we've got
How many of you guys out there know Reuben? Send Reuben some love, likes, and hearts across the screens. We are here celebrating today. Whether you are watching live or whether you are watching on the replay, you are some of the first people to celebrate with me and with Reuben. Something that is groundbreaking for me, but old hat here for my dear friend and filmmaker, Reuben. But the Akashic Academy yesterday, everyone, premiered on Gaia. We are a part of Reuben's season 3 interview with Ed, Extra Dimensional. And I am just really, really grateful for you. I'm grateful to share this moment with everybody. Let's raise the frequency in here a little bit. Tell us what you are grateful for as you are coming in. Reuben, what are you grateful for today? What are you feeling in the field?
I'm feeling we need to pray for rain right now to come in and put out this fire that's I can see right outside my window. There's a major forest fire going on within visual distance. So let's call in. I'm grateful. Let's call in the rain, everybody. Call it in the rain. I see some clouds forming, so that's good.
Hey, see how effective we are here at the Akashic Academy?
Yes,
those clouds coming in, yes.
Let's imagine those clouds just dumping on this fire and putting it out. So we so it can stop getting these alerts, evacuation notices. We don't want.
Yeah, well, this is making me so grateful. This is truly the most impactful work we can do, is how we show up in every single moment. So thank you for, as we come into this conversation today, that we get to work behind the scenes in saving the planet with Reuben Langdon. Way to go, everybody.
Well, I mean, the fires are, I don't know if this was a natural fire. I think it was a forest fire set by some campers or something, but I don't know if that's been established or determined. It did start in a camp area. So hoping, and if not, it's, fires are natural. They're natural cycles and they're part of the process. But, when there's lives at stake and property that we don't want them to creep in. So universe will do what it needs to do, but we want to try to get through it as safe as possible.
I hear that. Well, let's raise the vibrational frequency, like I said, and let's start talking about some of the amazing quantum impact that you're creating here on the planet, my friend. Congratulations on season 3 on Gaia. This is so exciting because season 1 and 2 swept the network of Gaia, did it not? It was like the #1 show.
Season 1 for sure. I'm not sure how. It's been a little hard to get exact numbers from Gaia on their just the numbers period. So I've kind of been like, okay, we'll just go with what we hear from the folks and whatnot. But it does seem, based on the comments, that season 1 and 2 were well received, and obviously they wouldn't be calling me back over almost 2 years later. Season 2 started airing right when COVID hit, so it's been 2 years, and I kind of been in touch with Gaia, letting them know I'm going to continue working on the show, whether if it's there, if they want it. And I think I just had to get enough episodes under my belt and sort of in the can so they could review them and then decide if they wanted to do a season 3. So lucky for us all, they did decide to pick it up, and your episode included. However, it is a limited release. They are only right now taking on 12 episodes. And your episode obviously is included in that 12 as it got released.
I had plenty of years of being on the cutting room floor in Hollywood. I am happy to have made the cut.
Well, there's going to be a total of I think either 29 or 30 episodes in season 3, and they're all not all but 7 are available on Vimeo. So if you're a diehard fan and you want to go beyond the Gaia realms and venture into Vimeo, we love Gaia because of their outreach. You know, it's been big for me for the show to be on Gaia, and super grateful for the exposure and for what Gaia is doing and all their work, you know, with helping to raise the consciousness and putting out amazing shows. I've got it loaded right here. Robert Grant's Codex show is on my playlist. I've been watching that. Highly recommend, you know, you guys checking that show out. And they've got a lot of amazing content out there. So keep watching them, but also if you could hound them a little bit and say, hey, we want to see all the episodes of season 3, not just the limited release. So that option, I think, is still on the table.
That is exciting. And I love how you invited us all into our die-hard self. Because you've actually created even more behind the scenes than what they're getting today for the diehards. You've created a membership program where the guests that you have interviewed on your shows get to come into, is it a Zoom room with the audience?
Yep. Every week we're doing in the membership, I call it the membership portal. And every week we're doing live chats with for now I'm sort of calling in, since we have this massive library of amazing channelers and experiencers and gifted people, sort of calling in the old guard. It started with season 1, and then we've been calling those people back, and then now season 3 is being released now. So last week we had Suzanne Spooner and Beverly Rickard, who are part of season 3 as well. Their episodes got released just before yours. And then I guess we're going to have you on the show too, right? We're going to have you.
Yes, of course. I'm going to come on September the 18th. I will be there.
The 18th. Right. So it's kind of, it's a mix. It's a mix of the old, a mix of the new. And as we go further, I'll be introducing, I've already reached out to a number of people who I've always wanted to have on the show, but couldn't because of geographical locations, COVID lockdowns, there's been a lot of things going on in our world these past few years that have made, producing the shows a little more difficult, just, first getting certain people that I wanted, but in this form and fashion, I'm calling it sort of Interview with Ed 2.0, the membership portal. People can come in and have and interact. I did get accused for hogging the mic last week, and I'll be careful about doing that in the future.
Who accused you of hogging the mic? Suzanne?
No, they weren't. It was some of the members, and they were totally right with doing it. It's just because some of these, depending on the information that we're trying to discuss, some of it's quite sensitive. And can be taken in different ways. And I try to, offer the buffet through the show in different perspectives and different ideas, how still leaning towards a general theme of self-empowerment and of sort of letting go of fear-based ideas. So we started tapping and going into a little of those challenging subjects. And I grabbed the mic and I was like trying to put it in a palatable way for the audience. And I started getting lost in my head, and I call it word salad. And I was rightfully called out for taking up the mic. And I listened back to it. I'm like, I did not make any sense in any of that stuff. So, anyways, I will be more careful about doing.
Occupational hazard, my friend. If
It is.
anybody has
It
been
is.
accused next to you of mic hogging, it's probably me. And
Yeah.
as you know, but our audience today might not, Reuben and I have been working on a behind the scenes new programming for the Akashic Academy. Reuben and his partner Steve were the filmmakers who captured my last event in Sedona, which we are turning into content. And as I'm watching all of this content of myself I'm like, does that even make any sense? And I feel you. Like sometimes I at least for myself, I feel a responsibility to guide and hold the container for whatever it needs to come through in the space. But yeah, because I'm sensitive and I begin to feel, when things get a little awkward, it's not landing quite right, and I feel the need to get in and puppet master it and direct it. And man, sometimes good old human Emily does her best, but she needed to just sit down, right?
Yeah, I needed a little timeout. So I got called out, and I will be more careful about doing that, about trying to puppet master. I was just, because the audience, the great thing, especially in our membership portal, they are the diehard fans, right? So the diehard listeners that have probably watched the episodes more than once and are actually doing the work and integrating a lot of the teachings that come through the show. Mm-hmm. So I forget that sometimes. And, I'm so used to having that dialogue on YouTube or on, open platforms that you get all kinds of, different people with different backgrounds and people who aren't versed in this information. So that's the beautiful thing about the portal. And it was a really nice reminder that our audience is quite advanced and our members are quite advanced. So what I'm really coming to enjoy and feel and understand is we can go deep right off the bat in the members portal. We don't have to sort of play catch up. And I was kind of trying to do that last week, and I realized I don't need to do that. So our membership portal, we can just go straight into deep dives and not have to worry about hurting anybody's feelings or if the information is going to be taken the wrong way or anything like that, because it is an advanced audience. So I maybe your audience, if they're interested, to come check us out. I have a 7-day free trial. So even for your episode, if they wanted to just, hop on for the trial and check it out. And if it's something that they see that they could get, there's a huge archive of old guests episodes, as well as I'm doing a lot of trying to put in a lot of like tools and things.
Yes.
I've become an avid gardener in my backyard here for, greenhouse and chickens and gardening tips and crypto classes and just everything that I see in our current reality that is a vibrational match for the new earth and for helping us make that bridge.
Which doesn't surprise me about you at all, knowing that you have so much mantis energy in your field and in your DNA, because that mantis energy really is a logos. It's an energy, very universal, like construct kind of energy. And it's beautiful to see you as my friend and fellow influencer here on the planet, up-leveling from telling the story of others and telling your story to now putting that into framework that it becomes modelable. Is that a word?
Yeah, modelable.
It is if you say it and stretch it out that long.
Yeah.
And for me. Yeah, it's fun to sit back and kind of know the galactic nature of who you are and see it evolving and showing up here to support us on the planet. It's fun.
Awesome. Yeah. Mantis, I'll take that.
Yeah. All right. So you talked about Suzanne and Beverly. I watched this episode, or these episodes. They were. It was a part 1 and a part 2. How many of you guys saw these episodes? If you saw the episode we're referring to, just give us a hands up in the comments. I particularly loved this when you asked about the Akashic records.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right. And the answer, and I know that it's probably a long time ago that you shot this. I don't know if you remember the answer that came through, but you said, is it like a library? And the response coming through from oh, I forgot the name of the entity that Beverly's channeling. Will you remind me?
The designers.
The designers, yes.
Yeah,
The
designers of
designer said,
our reality simulation.
yeah, said yes in your in human terms, but
Right, right,
no,
right.
not really. What do you think that the designer meant by that?
First thing that just came to my mind was that one living library.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that mean, right? What is the difference between a
Yeah.
living library and a library of records
Yes.
that in a hall? To me, the living library definition means that it's alive, it's organic, it's shifting, it's changing, it's metamorphosizing, it's constantly in motion. So where we think of libraries, we think of stagnant, we think of a hall of records, we think that nothing changes. So perhaps that could have been one of the major differences, perhaps that they were trying to suggest is that things in our reality are changing, things
Yeah.
are constantly in motion, and for us not to get fixated on a quote unquote library of, this is the way it is. That's what kind
I love
of came
that.
through.
I have two things that I would love to share. First
Mhm.
is the woman who trained me in the Akashic records. She had Hollywood in her back pocket too. She was a writer in Hollywood. And she talked about a particular movie, The Adjustment Bureau. I think it was with Matt Damon and Emily Blunt. That
Yeah,
was
yeah.
it was like that was a construct, a story metaphor for this idea of everything's moving and shifting. So when we make a decision or when something internally in our frequency changes, the matrix, the possibility changes and shifts and opens up. And Barbara used to tell us, even the best psychic is only right 75% of the time because the future exists in infinite possibility.
Right.
Yeah. So I feel like that is definitely in alignment with what you shared. The second thing that I wanted to share, and I would love to know what pings in your field, Reuben, and any of you out there who get a ping when I share this, but this feels like a pretty recent download for me and an understanding about the records, in that one of the reasons the records was designed was to hold the information around the experiment and be the place where we could start to make the adjustments. And so I asked more about this, and I began to see the Akashic records from the standpoint of, yes, we're downloading information from them, but we're also uploading information too. And the experiment that's happening here on planet Earth is humans are evolving and we're waking up to the truth of who we are and what our potential is. We're uploading information into the Akashic records. We're also uploading information about the challenges of human life and how we respond in stressful situations, in situations of conflict, when we're presented with our dreams and we have the opportunity to actualize our dreams. And so all of our experience is also being uploaded so it can be studied. So it can be shared information and wisdom that we all get to use when we look at it and we reflect on it. It provides even more opportunity opening up. It provides new gateways for new potential that didn't exist before.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's in alignment with many of the interviews I've done over the years. Is the beings have said that what we're doing here on Earth is, in a sense, being uploaded or being recorded for other civilizations and even their own civilizations, even though they may be at a higher, frequency or higher density, then they are still using this information to better their lives and to better their civilizations and how they do things. So, some of the conversations I've had, they're like, you humans are so fascinating. You would make choices that we would never, ever think of, and, and I think it's because of our emotional spectrum and stuff, but they're like, we would never think of that. And it worked. And and it surprised us. And we're like, I'm like, wait, we're teaching higher dimensional beings things? And they say, yes, absolutely. So I would agree with that statement 100%, based on, my conversations and my dabbling in the woo.
Dabbling in the world of woo.
The world of woo.
So since you're at the Akashic Academy and the Akashic records are the permeating energy here in this space, where else have you seen the Akashic records like show up in your interviews or become important or become a topic of conversation with some of the other channelers that you've interviewed?
It comes up a lot. I can't specifically. I'm thank you for remembering the part about the designers. That was actually, we did that interview just a few days before we saw you and did our interview. So I kind of knew. I snuck that one in. Yeah, we were on the way. Remember, we were driving from Illinois to going through Reno up to Shasta. So so that was sort of inserted there, but also based on the information I was getting from the prior interviews with Beverly and Suzanne that they had posted. There's in many, Kryon talks about the Akash, Bashar talks about the Akash, all of these channelers and beings and things in my show. It's always, I don't know if they specifically say it in the episodes that I interviewed them with. However, they all have in their own right sort of validated this idea of the Akash. And that's why, I saw, we had the conversation, like, I need to have an episode about the Akash because it's just always in the conversation. It's always part of the conversation. And it makes sense, that there is this, as we move closer to living in harmony with the universe, synchronicities start to become the norm. And then this is how it's discussed with interviews with, say, Bashar or others, that their entire reality is simply living moment to moment through synchronicity of what is needed in that now moment. And in a sense, when we understand what the Akash is, and how it is this sort of living library of information that we can access at any time, it's almost that the distortion between that's another dimension over here, and then this dimension is here where we're at, and we're pulling information in from that, but eventually we sort of like live in the Akash in our day-to-day reality. So we're sort of pulling that reality into us, so we can access the information at any moment. We can separate our consciousnesses into multiple sort of multitasking, where we can be bilocating or be in different places. Our consciousnesses can be in I think it already is, like when we dream and stuff, our consciousness is already sort of separated in these multidimensional ways, but our awareness has to be so hyper-focused here to be in this reality that, it's hard for us to multitask at the levels that these other beings are doing. That comes naturally because they are just so focused in the moment that and they're not worried about it, and they're just in the riding the wave of the universal energies. Then they can just say, well, we're on autopilot here. Let's go explore something over here. Let's go, let's go surf that wave. Let's go surf that another wave over here. So it's all, that's my perspective and how it's starting to take form and take shape. But then again, you got to throw all those forms and shapes out, and it could be something completely different tomorrow. We're like, oh, I got a new nugget that just wipes all that out.
Well, my ears just went woo as you said that. So you could be tuning in on something that's going to happen tomorrow. Hello, everybody. I feel very congruent in alignment with a lot of the things that you shared. I think that the Akash or the Akashic records, it is something that once we learn how to connect with this space and how to read the records, then we don't have to tap in. And, you've been in my classroom before, and you know that I take people through this oming process, which raises our frequency. It shifts our brain waves so that we are tapping into the brain waves that can connect us into universal mind. But what happens eventually is that we learn to hold this higher frequency, and we can tap it at any moment, because it's really just about being in a frequency match. And you nailed the difference too. When we're here in human form, before we wake up and we remember this, so much of our awareness is concentrated in this timeline that we're in, that we don't have the complete perspective of all the other bits that are going on and happening, which allow us to have that surrender of, okay, it's happening in divine flow in the way that it needs to. So as we begin to tap into that higher mind, we get more perspective. We understand more about the dynamics that are at play and what's happening. And it allows us to show up and operate differently as humans. I think this is going to be, I think learning to read the Akash is the gateway for the 5D, for every person to come into self-actualization, because it's got to be individual through each person. And the Akash is the only thing that I have found that keeps our soul in check about what we're doing and about where we need to course correct. And then it's almost like and then rewards us with really the highest level knowledge and wisdom that sometimes is very simple, but man, is it potent and powerful, of just shifting our perspective and allowing us to see differently or see what is unseen.
Yeah. I think that's what it does is it gives us a frame of reference for where we're headed, which is just in, some people are going to say it's, La La Land, Woo Land, or, bonkers, we're good. There are people that are having their awakening at such a fast pace right now. They are literally going bonkers. And I'm getting messages daily. I'm going to get on a call later this week. Someone is, I don't know if we want to call it ascension symptoms or, but their entire reality, because they've been so fixated on let's say, the old earth, we'll call it the old earth for now. And the constructs of it, and then realizing that everything in the old earth is just a complete farce, illusion. Almost not everything, but many of especially the social and economic and the material world stuff, like all of that stuff has been, it's like an overlay reality that's been put onto the Hollywood, right? Has been put onto humanity to think and to act and to react a certain way. And now that people are snapping out that, values are shifting so rapidly about, what is, what is real in the sense of, what is real for me, what matters to me now are no longer all these superficial things. And, having connections, human connections, relationships, and not just human, but also with animals and the earth and different energies and entities, and and tapping into all this stuff. It's happening to people without frames of reference, and that's what's making them, because they are awakening in the sense there's just there's this spontaneous awareness that all this stuff exists. And it's affecting them mentally and physically. So what's happening is they're going into panic mode, fight or flight. And what this work, and I think what the Akash does, is it gives people, again, a frame of reference, some sort of construct that they can still hold on to, and like I was saying, bring these worlds together so they can say, oh, okay, there is this thing called the Akash. There is this universal living library of information that I can access at any time. I'm not going crazy. Other people are into this as well. Let's go check out the Akashic Academy. Let's go check out Reuben's show, and let's but but it's happening, and I
Yeah.
feel as we can as more and more people come online, literally it's like the Matrix, where you have like the Neos and the Morpheuses, and
Yes.
waking up in their pods, and then the machines have to go in and try to put them to sleep, or we can fly in our spaceship, pull them up, and say, hey, eat your oatmeal, that meat stuff. That steak stuff is all fake. And then some people are going to want to go back in the Matrix,
Yeah,
with the same cipher
I
or
feel
whatever.
you.
And some people will make that choice, and we have to honor whatever choice everyone decides to make here.
I agree. I agree with honoring choice, and I felt a serious call out there as you were talking. When you were talking about, you said a lot of people are waking up so quickly and they don't have the frames of reference, and they're going a bit bonkers. I'm noticing some of that too.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm noticing every time I go into a vortex like Shasta or Sedona, or into a gateway like Lionsgate, I come out and whatever is not in alignment with my highest good, it gets deconstructed immediately. It's almost like rubble all in front of me. I'm like, whoa, was I ready for that? So there's an accelerated journey that we're all on anyway, and it's challenging enough when you have construct. When you don't have construct, here's what we're seeing. We're seeing our brothers and sisters out there feeling like they're losing their minds. And the call out came around anyone out there who is watching. And I see Vanita and Deb, couple different Debs and Debras out here, David Vega. A lot of you who I know are doing the work, and I know that a lot of people are in the closet too. You're in the closet about your gifts and skills. You haven't come out to your family and your friends. You don't have regular places where you can train, where you can talk about these things. And unfortunately, our brothers and sisters are suffering because they have not heard your message, your strength, they haven't been present to your light because you're diminishing it. So I just felt a responsibility, and I will look at this too and see where do I get to stand even more in the ownership and the pride that I have, and not in a negative way, but I'm proud of myself and my mission and what I'm here on the planet to do. And the planet needs more of it. So how do I show up to it? And so just sacred invitation for anybody out there who's in the closet still.
It is so, and I think this is the tricky balance. And I think for me, this is where sort of the downloads I've been getting of late is because of the transitioning and how it's happening and everything. I agree with your statement 100%. The world absolutely needs this. However, it's not up to us individually to decide what the world needs and doesn't need.
That is true.
We shouldn't be making those choices. So that's the balancing act, I think, is standing in our uniqueness, our oneness, and being our individual shining self as bright as we can possibly shine, while simultaneously allowing everybody else to make their own choices and to call you a stupid idiot and a crazy, conspiracy theorist, or, whatever it is, right-wing extremist, racist, or whatever label you're going to be called, and own it, and know that's not going to affect me because I am standing bright. But then also maybe pull back some of that light, because if it is causing someone to lash out and to attack, then perhaps I might be shining just a little too much, and I need to pull back and allow that person for their own self-discovery, to come on their own timing when they're going to come online to understand and try to accept these concepts. And they may never, and we have to be okay with that too.
That's true. Thank you for bringing in this really high level conversation around our job to respect the free will and to not create more judgment by saying what we think that there needs to be. Because the more we grow and the more we raise our consciousness, I at least see in my field, I'm invited to see these really big lessons in my own microcosm. And then how do I get to show up and to shift and to actually embody the person that I want to be? Because I find, I worked through this recently, Reuben. So I got really triggered during the virtual Mount Shasta. Like you said, I had some people who got triggered by the experience and turned it on me and were attacking me for how I showed up in that experience. And first my human was a little, and I'm like, all right, calm down, human. Let's look at that, because you can't show up for anybody if you're in your trigger, if you're in your charge. Let's get you back to neutral. So I had the opportunity of seeing where I still get triggered by the people who have something negative to say about me. I noticed a little bit of growth, but I probably can still grow more. I had a nasty comment. Was it in my inbox this morning? It might have been in my inbox this morning. And it wasn't even that bad, but it was enough that I was I'm just like, block. And I just blocked this person from my field. So I didn't even have to look at it or deal with it. So I prevented myself from going into a charge, but is there more love and compassion that I can find in there? That's where I up-leveled and really challenged myself in Shasta, is when the light that I was shining was triggering somebody else. Instead of coming over the top of them and continuing to shine brighter, I took a different route, a different angle. And I said, let me just back off for a second, first calm down. And then I began to, and my awesome executive assistant reminded me, remember, people are dealing with their shit, Emily. And I began to get really sensitive to the pattern I was seeing. Maybe it was anger, maybe it was frustration, maybe there was some disappointment there. And I began to get sensitive to the being who was showing up in my field and what the real trigger was. And I made myself available to show up and to work through it in a different way. Let's look at this through a different angle. It's coming up for a reason. How, not to say that both of us can't learn and up level from what we've experienced, but let's go even deeper. And let's just be two humans sitting in the rawness with each other and just be here and clear it. And that felt really good. It felt like an up level to my leadership to move through those different aspects of my own personal triggers.
Yeah, it's all about perspective, and we're all triggered in different ways and different things, and I think everything can be sort of sorted out with a conversation, even if at the end of the conversation you agree not to agree, but at least you've had the conversation to hash out every other angle that you could possibly, well, what about this, or what about that, and this is this, and and we were even going through it with our editing process. We were trying to figure out and balance and harmonize, and what about this, and assumptions are made before we actually sit down and have the conversation. They're like, oh yeah, okay, I see it from that way. Oh, I see it from this perspective, and we're all like, oh, you know what, if and especially now in these times, I think we all need to try to, like you said, what you did is take that time out to chill, and identify what's getting triggered, and then not do the knee-jerk reaction thing, because we all know where that leads. Knee-jerk reactions are not.
Well, those knee-jerk reactions are even more sabotage than I think we realize. You'll be proud of me, and maybe a little sad too, but you won't be sad for long, but you'll be proud of me. I got axed from the dock of giving a keynote at Columbia, Reuben, because I'm not vaxxed. Proudly not vaxxed.
Oh,
but because I got axed,
I am proud of you.
Thank you. Because I got axed from that talk, I am going to be speaking in Miami, a keynote in November, and I was have been tuning in to say, what do I want to speak about at this next keynote? And what has come through was how to change a pattern, which I thought to, I'm like, don't you have a better title? It's so boring, so boring. But then once I leaned into it, I'm like, oh, it's really, really good information. We need this on how to change a pattern. And what the records have dropped into my field is it's that stopping of the knee-jerk reaction. What has to happen first is changing our response to the pattern, because patterns repeat themselves.
Yeah.
We learned that from science. They repeat themselves. However, our response gets to change. And once our response changes, it changes the outcome, and the new outcome is what repeats itself. So if you can just know that finding your knee-jerk reactions and creating some spaciousness in there to choose something different, once you hone that muscle, you'll be able to change any pattern in your life.
Yep. And think about it. That's what we're doing collectively here, because we are in the 12,000 year cycles and the 26,000 year or 12 or 13,000 year cycles, the 26,000 year cycles. Humanity is in this cyclical. If anybody looks at crypto charts or stock market charts or whatever charts in that sense, there are clear cycles, ebbs and flows of on the economic sense, on the physical geological sense of our human or our Earth experience here and how things are moving with climate changes and different things. So we are. I think we've heard through the channelings and through my interviews and I'm sure through your explorations, we've heard of humanity's repeating the same similar cycles because of it's different. Like we went through Atlantis, we went through the fall of Lemuria, Mu, and then you go back even further to Mars and then to Maldek and Aldebaran, and there's these galactic, and then we can go to galactic lessons like the Pleiades and the Orion Wars and Lyra, and so all of these stories are cyclical, and they're for a reason, so we can stop the knee-jerk reaction, and look at the story and look and reflect. Well, what that obviously didn't work, or it worked, it kind of worked, or it failed, or that was the result from doing that thing. Am I going to do the same thing again, or I'm going to try it differently? And I think humanity collectively is having to stop the knee-jerk reactions and take a deep breath and realize and ask all of us individually and collectively, how are we going to do this differently now? Because we can't keep doing the same things. We're hitting the walls, and it's very clear where these knee-jerk reactions have gotten us as a society and as a human race. So I think it's awesome, because the result is we do get to step into the Akashic. We do get to step into this new reality that hasn't been it hasn't been done before. That's why it's so exciting. We have no idea where it's going.
I agree with you. It's so exciting, and we have no idea where it's going. And my hunch and my hope is that one of the wheres it's going, that's not correct, but one of the wheres it's going, I'm so excited right now, I can't say anything else. One of the wheres that it's going is that we get to have these relationships with interdimensional and extra dimensional beings. Like you said, you talked about how important human connection is, and then how that extrapolates into our relationship with animals and with the earth, and then our relationship with energy, which the next layer for me is inviting this galactic and interdimensional contact back that will help us and to support us and be an exciting new mechanism through which we get to explore ourselves and our connection to each other.
Absolutely. And I think I have no doubt that that's coming, that we know that disclosure is on a fast track right now. and we can see it in our news cycles, how they're just like with our, I think all aspects of humanity and in the waking up and the awareness, there are certain groups and elements and energies that are trying to, in a sense, get ahead of the news cycles, or
Mm.
and propel them in a certain direction to further their agendas. And to see that happen in real time is just, for me, a sign that says, oh, we're moving very fast now. The rats are coming, are jumping ship, or coming out into the open now, because things are moving so fast. Humanity is waking up so fast that they're really trying to get ahead of news
Yeah.
cycles. And they're failing miserably, in my opinion, because the energies and the vibrations of the planet and what's coming in, on an individual level is
Yes.
well, collectively and individually, but individually we're all really, like, some people are getting zapped hard and waking up from a deep sleep in just a matter of days, but others, are different time. There's different timings and stuff. But no matter what, you cannot deny collective humanity is going through a major awakening right now.
Major awakening.
And sort of the dessert or the reward for, hey, ladies and gentlemen, you just awoken, and move right over here and meet your space brother, and he's going to tell you how the new reality works and help you navigate all these new tools you have at your disposal. And it can be, it's like trying to fly a fighter jet with not having ever flown anything before, and you're like, okay, where are all these buttons? I gotta click this and do that, and okay, throttle here, and well, there's so much to this. Don't worry, the ET's in the back seat. He's your co-pilot, and he's gonna help you navigate this crazy realm called the universe, right?
Yeah. Well, you will appreciate this individual story because you know my mama. So since Mount Shasta, this last trip to Mount Shasta, we were in Panther Meadows, and she was taking some pictures, and she noticed she was really good at capturing the orbs in pictures. Well, after she went home, I think it's been almost consecutive weeks it happened. I haven't tapped in to say, Mom, when was the last time you saw the orbs? But every night from the first night she got home, for weeks later, her Ring camera, which she has some outside her house and then some inside. Oh, she's here. Mom is here. Hi, Mom.
All right. Hello.
Her Ring camera went off, and she caught all these orbs on the camera. And so she's calling, like they're visiting her in her home environment. They're revealing themselves in places where she can see and connect with them. And it's really cool, and I'm sure it's a little bit freaky. Although here's what I noticed when she tells me the story, she's just so calm about it. And it's almost like something that she forgot to tell me before. I'm like, Mom, what do you mean? We got to go back and see if they're on the video footage. And then, because first when she told me, she just told me about them and didn't say that they were on the footage. So we went back to see them on the footage. But I noticed.
So they're on the video footage as
well.
They're
on the video footage. It's similar with me. When I have an encounter, it's like I forget, it's really big, and I forget to tell people for a little while. And when I tell them, it's so just blasé that, and I remember having kind of the same experience when I was sharing with you one time. We were in Shasta together, and I saw 200 ships-ish flying in formation in broad daylight and disappear into the mountain. And it was at least 24 hours before I told anybody. I'm like, this is really strange. So there's something that happens to us where we just kind of let go of fear, and it becomes a normal thing when we have these interactions, I'm noticing. But I thought that you would appreciate knowing that my mama's vision is really turning on. It's pretty cool.
Well, and I think that this is where part of again, our knee-jerk reaction to share such profound experiences is, our knee-jerk reaction is, we got to tell the world. This was me, 2007. I saw the craft. This was what got me on this track was, I saw the craft. I was calling my friends in real time on the phone, asking them if they could see them from where they were at. And then the next day I was working on Avatar, and I was telling all the staff, and I was telling all my friends, and, I was like, oh my God, ET's, it's real. It's a real thing. And they're like, yeah, okay. But I was, the excitement was so alive and thriving. I didn't, no matter what anybody said, I didn't let it affect me. I just kept going. And oh boy, did I keep going. Look where we're at now. I've got my own membership portal. But what I want to say is, a lot of times when we share, because we're so excited, we might get the naysayers. We might get people that Debbie Downers that sort of like try to, take your experience and say, well, you sure it wasn't this, or you sure it could have been that, or whatever. So in that sense, in the same knee-jerk reaction conversation, it might be better just to hold on to some of these personal experiences right now, share them with select people that that will equally get excited, but we don't have to tell the whole world just yet until everybody is ready. And that time will come where we collectively, we're all seeing the ships simultaneously, and we're all getting super excited over it. But there still is a lot of fear around these looking into these other phenomenon, because if some people can't see them, or not seeing them, or not seeing the fairies, or not seeing the magic that's happening around them, then that starts to put them in a fear mode. Then they'll start projecting their fears onto you. Oh, you're a crazy person, and all this other stuff. So, let again, going back to let this disclosure happen organically with everybody individually, and get excited about it. So they can wait for them to come to you and say, what are you so excited about all the time? And like, well, I'm seeing ships, and there's fairies, and we have these different connections, we have portals, and then share at that time. But if they're not ready to be, if they're not interested, and if they're not ready to hear the information, then just wait. It's going to come. There's going to be the day there. Trust me, I've been doing this since 2007. I've been down the slow path of, all right, they're not ready. Let's do this. Let's go create a big event in Washington, D.C. and tell the world that ETs are real, and show get all the top scientists and the top people together, and 50 witnesses in the National Press Club. Let's do that. And then people will listen. And guess what? Crickets.
You guys know that about Reuben? He was the producer. Is it called the Citizens Hearing on Disclosure?
The Citizen Hearing Disclosure. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Reuben.
So,
Reuben, put that
talking about not being able to contain my excitement. That was a big one right there. And I learned my lesson. That was a multi-million-dollar produced event that I lost money from my investor. It had a huge impact on humanity at the time. Right now, it's barely getting any views on YouTube, and it's out for free. I was just gonna find the link and post it for you guys.
Yeah, post the link in there for us. That would be great. So, Reuben, I know you have a lot to do. Thank you so much for hanging out with us for this last hour. I have one more question for you before we wrap up today. So, what would you say you're the most proud of in season 3? As a filmmaker, as the creator, you're the legacy keeper of the consciousness that's getting brought to humanity through this beautiful project, Interview with Ed. What are you most proud of for season 3?
I have to say the last 2 episodes that I just released, about it's, let's see, what did I call it? It's called the autism, Autizm, A Journey to Ascension, parts 1 and 2 with Lyrica and Gail. And Lyrica is a nonverbal autistic who I actually started filming way back in 2010, before I even started filming the show. And I've known, Lyrica and her mom Gail since 2010. Every time I'd go to Sedona, I'd call them up. I'm like, hey, let's do another interview. I've got another, I'm not sure how this is going to form yet and what we're going to do here. And then, and finally we reconnected through the Skull Project in, well, I guess I would say not through, but kind of. Well, the Skull Project was taking us to Arizona, to Sedona again. This was a year and a half ago or so, just before our interview, actually. And I knew in the back of my head, I'm like, I'm doing season 3. I really think now I have I can tell the story correctly, because there's a lot of moving parts to that. The autism topic is quite a sensitive one, because many people have autistic children and are working that out right now. And I don't want to, again, the story is so rich that you don't want to, you don't want to step on people's toes who are in that experience. And here I am, I'm a documentary filmmaker. I don't, in my immediate, other than Gail and Lyrica, I don't have any autistic people in my immediate field. Well, I have a few people, but on different parts of the spectrum.
Right.
But so nonverbals, really, Lyrica is the only one I've really known for years now. So I don't want to come across as this authority on what is it. And anyways, there's a lot there to unpack. But basically, it had been a subject that I've been wanting to get off my chest and talk about, because I believe the Gail and Lyrica story and the other nonverbals that they work with, it's such a big story and in a perspective that most people haven't even looked at it from that reality. Basically, there is this nonverbal autistic collective consciousness that is helping humanity ascend through these times. And so knowing that since 2010 and having the correlations through the show with, the ETs verifying, validating everything that I was getting from Lyrica back in 2010 and continuing. Anyways, I was just really happy to finally sort of revisit it. And we kind of redid the whole thing, redid our interviews and stuff, but able to tell the story in the form and fashion that it came out. And luckily, those 2 episodes will also be airing on Gaia. I don't know when, but they were part of the 12 that were selected. And hats off to Gaia, because I didn't even have them edited and finished, and they chose those episodes. So I guess somebody over there is doing enough homework to figure out that there's something to this.
Yeah.
Or maybe just intuitively, I don't know.
Well, I'm feeling it now in my body. Like as you're talking about this, I'm like, wow, I haven't tapped into this storyline or this perspective. And I'm like, and I'm feeling, it's like you uncovered a little pyramid. It's a huge pyramid underneath. It's an iceberg. There is amazing shift that gets to happen for all of us if we receive this and lean into this story more. So thank you for telling it. I'm so excited to watch that.
Yeah, I'm excited to get out. So
was this the mom and daughter pair that came to Shasta? I don't think so. That you interviewed in Heather's shop?
No, different. No, that was different. But yeah, that's for example, there's a lot of correlations. She had it comes out in the interview. She had Lyrica traveled through a portal through Sedona, through Thunder Mountain to Shasta, and actually met with the inner earth beings and having those experiences prior to me reconnecting. So that was all happening simultaneously while I were doing the skull stuff, and I didn't even know that until later. I'm like, oh, you're traveling to tell us too. We're all, look at that.
Well, what a perfect place to wrap up. I mean, that was what you were talking about in the very beginning, living our life moment to moment, synchronicity to synchronicity. And it sounds like the stories that your soul has agreed to tell in this incarnation have just all synchronistically lined up for you, especially in the last several years as we started to accelerate.
Absolutely. Yeah. The puzzle pieces are coming together. It's funny, yeah, because they've always been there. I just didn't see how they connected, and now I'm seeing how they connect. So, and just sharing how I see them connect with everybody else. So
thank you so much for being here and sharing your perspective and your experience, your extraordinary genius when it comes to the mantis part of you that just sees so much wisdom you get to share with us. And then the very
because I'm
human
wearing
part
green
of you
today,
too.
isn't it?
Yeah, the very human part of you too that gets called out for having too much of the mic. You're an awesome human. You're a great example for all of us to, you know, find the stories that we're meant to tell and to be a part of, and to tell them bravely, and to leave a lot of fairy dust as we go. Thank you for sprinkling that fairy dust in my field too, and opening the portal in my way into Gaia. It's been a big step for me along the way, and I owe it all to you. Thank you.
No, dude, giving you too much, but thank you. Yes, I accept the fairy dust task, and will continue to sprinkle more of fairy dust out into the world.
Awesome. Thank you all for being here with us. Be sure to check out not only the Akashic Academy's episode on Gaia, but look at all of these episodes that Reuben has. Let Gaia know you want the whole shebang. You don't want just the limited release. And if you want to continue to rub elbows with Reuben and be in the classrooms, the sacred classrooms that he's creating, just scroll to the top of the feed here. We left in the comments for you a link where you can check out his membership. All right. Thank you, Reuben, for being here. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Emily.
We'll be back here again soon.
All right. Bye-bye.